Oh, we're ready. Sorry. I was just enjoying a little midnight snack of rabbit sauteed in butter, pine nuts, and scallions. It's delicious. So, reproduction, right? Reproduction means passing down genetic information. And there are two main types of reproduction, sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction. If you are a single-celled organism, like the bacteria here, you can simply copy your DNA and then split your cell into two and you have reproduced, right? And that's the way most organisms' cells reproduce, right? That's how all the cells in your body make more cells, right? By asexual reproduction. But sexual reproduction involves taking genetic information from one individual, mixing it with another individual's genetic information, and the result is a genetically distinct offspring, right? That's exactly what these lions are doing here. Combining sperm from the male with egg cells from the female results in a zygote that has a new genetic combination. Growth and development is then what happens to that zygote, right? It's not just an increase in size. Single-celled organisms might just increase in size, but multicellular organisms also change in structure and function of the cells, tissues, and organs that make them up. We all started life as a zygote. Most of us have come a long way since then, right? Not only have we gotten bigger, right, physically bigger, but through the development of the embryo, right, we've got hands and feet and brains and all of these structures that were not there when we were just a zygote. So cute, but now look at us. All right, remember this question: what is the ultimate source of energy in most terrestrial environments? Here's the answer. It's the sun, or more specifically, the photons that the sun produces. There's other types of energy as well. So it could be heat, not just heat from the sun, but heat from the materials that are in the Earth's interior, or inorganic chemical reactions like acid working its way into rocks and having chemical reactions there. But for most terrestrial environments, the sun is the ultimate source of energy. So life requires a constant flow of energy in order for living things to maintain homeostasis and to fuel their movement and activity and to fuel the chemical reactions that happens inside every cell of that organism. And since the sun is the ultimate source of energy, that gives us a way to further characterize living things. We can have producers, which are plants that are going to absorb the photons from the sun's energy and use them to create complex molecules. And then we have consumers, such as animals, that take those complex molecules and break them down to release the energy. So this is another way to distinguish between autotrophs and heterotrophs. Autotrophs are producers. Heterotrophs are consumers. Energy in the environment has a particular path as far as living things are concerned, right? Energy from the sun can be absorbed by non-living things, and when it is, it then just gets radiated back as heat. So go out at night, feel the street or feel the sidewalk, you know that it's hot, right? And you know why it's hot. It's hot because it absorbed all that heat during the day and then gives it off at night. Living things do much the same thing, right? They take in energy that ultimately came from the sun, and ultimately that energy gets radiated from our bodies as heat. We lose that energy as heat. So 90% of all of that energy that is moving through the environment is lost as heat. So what this graphic tells us is that, or shows us, is that all of that energy is lost every time one organism eats another organism. So here at the bottom, you've got a bunch of producers, the grass of this ecosystem. And let's say that there's 1,000 kilocalories of energy in this grass. Once they have consumed it, the consumers above them, these grasshoppers, only are able to extract about 100 kilocalories of energy from what they've eaten. 90% of the energy they've taken in is gone. It's lost as heat. When those grasshoppers are eaten by the shrews, the secondary consumers in this graphic, again, 90% of that energy that they take in is going to be lost as heat, so they can only access about 10% of that energy, or 10 kilocalories. And then you get to an owl here, the last tertiary consumer. It only gets 1 kilocalorie rather, of that initial 1,000 kilocalories. It only gets 10% of the calories that it takes in by eating the little shrews and other things in the environment. Now, this explains two things for us. First of all, it explains why a big, vast ecosystem, full of plants, may have relatively few large predators like owls or eagles or cats or lions, right? Because there's so much of that energy is lost as heat. But it also allows us to sort of work the other way. We can figure out what's a stable population of owls, for example, and then we can figure out from that how much habitat they need by determining how many calories they're going to need to support the primary consumers, secondary consumers, and so on that need to go into the diet of that owl. But it's kind of sad, right? 90% being lost as heat. You're really not much better than a rock. Okay, matter in the environment. Right. Energy is captured and stored and transferred by matter. CO2 and H2O are molecules that often combine to store energy in a molecule called glucose. So you already know this because you're, a reasonably well-educated 9th grader, right? Plants take in carbon dioxide and water and they combine those using sunlight to create glucose. And then glucose in turn can be combined with oxygen to release the energy it contains. Oxygen is used to break down glucose and release the energy. That's what happens when you eat some sugar, right? Or you eat a piece of fruit or something like that. Well, that's the end of this video. We really rocked it. Please complete the corresponding review questions, right? And be prepared to show your notes in class. Have a great evening.